What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat Podcast. I am your host, Mike from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I am joined today by two men that told me off camera that they're willing to buy every new subscriber a hot dog and a beer at the upcoming National, Mr. Joe Day and Eric Pahalik. How you doing, guys?
Well, I'm going to have to crack myself open one after that. If I'm going to owe people beer, I got to drink with them,
And a hot dog.
And a hot dog.
And a hot dog.
Hot dogs too. All right.
How you doing, EP?
I'm doing good. Got a little bit of a thunderstorm going on here. I know it's not heading your way, but yeah,
I have it here too. So we'll see if we make it through the podcast or not, but we're going to try.
I got it, boys.
If
you guys go off camera, I got it. I can take control.
This. You have the whole format. You know what we're doing. So what's new? Anybody?
I just ordered a box of 92 X-Men Series 1. I'm gonna rip on the channel. I got it for about $200, so it wasn't bad. The auctions were going a little bit less than that, but you just never know with auctions if you're gonna fall into one that you don't end up being the reason it gets bid up, so
yeah,
I ended up doing a buy it now. So I'm going to rip that for the channel. And then my SGC return should be here tomorrow, which is exciting. A couple of Brady rookie cards. So that's what I got cooking.
Yeah,
of course. Why not? What else?
EP?
Don't have much. I got a couple Riley Green Bowman firsts in. He hasn't been called up yet, but I'm excited about him. He's like the number 4 prospect in baseball. Adley Rutschman got called up. I think it was yesterday. And I had meant to try to get some of his cards and failed to get a couple. That was a little upsetting. But other than that, nothing super exciting for me. Been dealing with some car issues, so haven't had a lot of time for card stuff.
Car issues are not good for your card collection. That's for sure.
No.
I took the plunge and I actually bought a gold prism of Paul Heyman. So
your boy.
Yeah.
Your boy.
That one's going to be coming through the eBay authentication program. So make a
that's cool.
little video about that and open up that box when it gets here. But yeah, other than that, nothing new for me, really.
Is that's the first one we've gotten out of that authentication program?
I think so. Yeah. I know it's the first one I've gotten. So,
and is it through the lowered price that they dropped it down to? What was it at, and what is it currently at?
Was it like 1,000?
300 now, I think.
Yeah, down to 300.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's either 250 or 300 now. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I'm actually kind of excited to see how the package comes and what kind of shape it's in. So that'll be pretty cool. But the real reason we're here today is we're going to talk about the sky falling, the hobby crashing. The market is just going. We're almost all broke. So, but thankfully our listeners have the three of us, and we will, make sense of everything, and we will fix all the problems right here today.
Can we talk about irony though, that during this podcast, the sky is literally falling in Danville, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it really is.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's fate. I don't know if the gods are after us, but yeah, it sounds
good
that way.
Good point
anyway.
there. Yeah, we're going to make a point, and then there's going to be a loud crash of thunder, and everything's going to go out. So yeah, but we'll do our best. So I guess get right into it. Joe, is the market crashing?
I think you're going to hear a common theme, at least from the text messages that we've been sending about this topic, is I don't think it's crashing. I think it's correcting. When we first got back into the hobby, I guess you could say, the real reason we started digging through our old cards were Tom Brady rookie cards. That was one of the first actual reasons. The joke reason was Thanos rookie cards, which ironically weren't even Thanos rookie cards. They were Infinity Gauntlet cards from Series 2, but I digress. But we looked at the prices of those going at PSA 10s for wasn't it $500-$600 or something like that?
Might have even been more than that.
It might have been more. And we're all kind of chuckling that this is not sustainable. Sure, the big stuff like the Brady rookies, that should sustain good value over time. But things like that, and some of the newer stuff, it's just not sustainable. So the market's going to go up and then it's going to correct. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing now. We're seeing that correction. Now, am I nervous? Sure. I have some money invested in some cards. I would like to see them hold value for a little while, but I don't think it's a crash so much as a correction.
EP?
I agree 100%. The one thing that I think is important, they're still setting records for a lot of cards. Like Serena Williams rookie cards are still setting records, and there's still cards that are like there's still money that is changing hands. It's just
Mhm.
that there are some cards I think that were like inflated by the boom in 2021, and I think that's kind of what is those cards are correcting. Where the actual ones that are really hard to find are still going for record amounts of money.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. It's, you know, yeah, a lot of the higher end stuff just went like crazy, and it was already high to begin with. And, if it just keeps shooting up, at some point, people are going to realize, it's a little too much. And I feel the same as you two. It's just a market correction. I think you see it more right now on the high end stuff and the newer stuff. I know I've watched a couple videos that kind of have a little different opinion about that, but I've had no trouble selling cards. I just listed some of the stuff I got back from PSA, and I've sold quite a few of those cards already. And wrestling cards, basketball cards, football cards. So I'm not personally seeing it in the stuff that I'm selling. So of course I'm not selling $20,000
Right.
cards. So
And I'm the same. I'm selling the stuff that from my old collection from the '90s. I sell some stuff that I get back from PSA. I haven't seen a major drop either. I haven't seen a major drop in that level because we don't play in the same sandbox as some of the people that we watch videos of, where they're, you said off camera, Mike.
Mhm.
They're calling $5,000 cards mid range, right? We don't play in that sandbox.
no, not at all.
But for us, I sell so many random 1990s cards at a price that a year ago I wouldn't have gotten, 5 years ago I wouldn't have gotten, and when they came out I definitely wouldn't have gotten. So
Mhm.
and as a buyer it hasn't affected me either because I collect Tom Brady rookie cards. I have not seen a drop. Where's the drop? Show me the drop.
Yeah,
I'll buy
know.
some. I really will.
You want to buy that dip. Just
I
can't
want
find
to
the
buy
dip.
that dip. I just can't find it. I
Yeah.
mean, some of them it's like $25 here, $25 there. The best card in my collection, the Bowman PSA 8, the Bowman Chrome PSA 8 has actually gone up over the last couple of months. So it's like I'd like to buy a dip. I just haven't seen one. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe at the National. We'll see.
Maybe. So you got into that a little bit, Joe. I'll go to EP for this one. Do you have any cards in your collection that you've noticed that the value dropping on, or anything you're worried about right now?
I'm not super worried. Like I haven't purchased any cards that would be considered high end. So things that I've already had that, as you said a couple times, Mike, it's if you're trying to sell them, it's like free money because they've been sitting in boxes for 10 years,
Yeah.
or 20
Mhm.
years, depending on how long it's been in there. So, but I had those cards that I just got graded, the Trout rookie and the Kobe Bryant, and both of those, they've gone down in value from where they were, it was like a year ago or
Mhm.
several months ago. So I have seen that. But again, I think it was because that was an artificial inflation because of the boom.
Definitely a year ago.
What's the one card though that went up in value out of the 3 you submitted?
The Brady rookie.
The Brady
card.
you sold me.
Quantum Leap. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
When you look back though, like really now too, like 1 year, we're kind of at that 1 year point where really everything was crescendoing. It was, if you look back for the year-long surge, like the basketball stuff, and especially in some of the baseball, a year ago, when you look at those April sales, you're like, wow. So, it, like you said, it just increased in value so quickly that it wasn't sustainable. And it's not like the cards that we're selling and we're buying now are worthless. They're just not worth as much as they were at the peak. But I have a couple cards. I think I bought that a first year Brady Prism. That's a PSA 9. So of course, it's a base card. It's PSA 9. Nobody wants that card anymore. So I think it might be like $50 less than what I paid for it. And I think I also have that Topps card of Kobe and LeBron together that I paid, that one's gone down a little bit since I bought it. But I mean, again, probably more to a realistic price. It's not like the card's $50 now in a SGC or a PSA 9. It's still close to $200, but it's not $300. So
Right.
All right, so this is the fun part. Who do you think, what group do you think, Joe, is most affected by the current dip in the market?
You know, like we said before, we talked about this a little bit on text beforehand, so I don't want to kind of steal EP's thunder. He brought it up first. The flippers, I think the quick flippers have had an issue, and I'll let EP talk to that more. But and also on the other side of it, the folks buying high end stuff. I mean, I mean, it's not the same thing, but what the NFT of the first tweet was what $2 million it sold for, and now it's sold for $225 or something like that.
Wow.
I feel like cards, when you're talking super high end cards, it's such a volatile market that something could be, and I actually did research for this pod, so I don't know if we'll talk about that, some of the prices now, but some of that super high end stuff, man, you look at the prices 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and compare it to if you would have bought then and didn't move it when there was a little bit of a jump, you are holding on to something that it's still a great card, and it still has, especially for guys like us, a really good amount of value. But for the folks that bought it, they're probably looking at it thinking, what was I doing 3 months ago?
Yeah. EP, I think you feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, flipping there, I think the opportunities to flip in some cases are still there. Like you can still, prospect on baseball prospects and flip those for a little bit of profit. Well, you can't just buy a bunch of 1990 base cards and send them to PSA for $12
Right.
and turn that into $100 each. Like that's just not there anymore. You can't buy a box of Prism and flip that on eBay for triple what you paid for at Walmart anymore. That's those things are just off the table now. I think those are probably the people that are affected the most by this the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think there was way too much easy money being made to begin with. Like, let's be real. The people that were sending in cards to PSA, like 1990 hoops, Michael Jordan, for instance,
right?
Just because you got that back and you got a 10 doesn't mean that that card is really inherently rare or should really have had any of the value it had. Like, these were people who were early adopters, and they got in on something. They were able to say, oh, pop of whatever, before everybody else caught on, and people were paying ridiculous prices. And now that there have been millions upon millions upon millions of cards being returned from PSA, all those people who went, oh, wow, look at that price, I'm going to dig mine out and send it in. Well, the junk wax era is called that for a reason, because they made so many cards. And yeah, not all of them are 10s, obviously, but still, out of all the ones that they made, if you're sending all these in to get graded, there's going to be a lot more 10s out there than some of the other rarer sets. So, like, I feel like a lot of it was smoke and mirrors to begin with. Like, a lot of this hobby and the money that was being made was not sustainable because it wasn't real. Like, they were selling stuff that wasn't inherently rare as if it was rare, and people were believing it and buying it. And now that time and grading has caught up, people are realizing that, oh, that's really not worth it. And, so those people are obviously going to be hurt by stuff because they can't go out and just, like, I personally don't think those people are any smarter than anybody else. I don't think that they're better at doing the hobby. I don't think that they're better investors. I think they were people that took advantage of a situation at a point in time. And now that's gone. And those are the people that are like, oh, well, the hobby sucks now. I can't make money. Well, yeah, you shouldn't have never been making that money to begin with.
Right. It was the perfect moment in time. They got lucky. They might have been doing it for other reasons. They might have been grading these cards. So we'll be doing a video at some point of our favorite content creators, right? So Alico3, we brought him up numerous times on the pod, and he did a segment called Water into Wine, where he would take these junk wax era cards. He would send them for $12 PSA, get them back and sell them for 50 or 100, depending on what it was. He even knew that wasn't really sustainable. And he says now, when you show his videos, you can't do this anymore. That was a moment in time that you're not going to get back. and it's completely true. You're right, Mike. It's smoke and mirrors. It's a shell game. You know, people were just moving these cards around, and someone sent it to PSA for $12, sold it for $50. Whoever bought it for 50 at the time may have been able to sell it for 75. It's the same junk wax era card that cost the original person $12.05 because that's probably what the card was worth. And then now it turned into this $150 card, 6 owners down the road, and then whoever got hold in the bag, that is now a $12 card again. They're out 100, $25, $150.
Yeah, EP.
Well, I mean, just I looked at some cards, some prices of some cards, and just want to talk about those. Like the PSA 8 Michael Jordan, back in October, like May through October of last year, it was selling for like $10,000 a card, and most recent sales were like $7,800. So it's down like $2,000. I mean, and I think back to like during that time, there were probably a lot of people who are like, I'm going to buy like 10 of these PSA 8 Michael Jordans, and it's never going to go down in value for $10,000. And now they're out, $2,000 each. There's a couple sales, one for $14.99 and one for $12.95, but both of them look pretty sketchy. There's one seller had like one feedback, and none of it was involving cards. The other one, I clicked on it and it said this listing is no longer available. So it was like they tried to erase it, but it was still in the search, the Cherry Peak search listing. And then looking at the PSA 10s, I had used the Sports Card Investor app for this because people aren't selling their PSA 10 Michael Jordans on just regularly on eBay.
Right.
So, but that one for December 18th and November 21st, there were sales of $312,000. And then on April 9th of this year, there's a sale of $252,000. So it dropped down $60,000. So
and
again,
did Sports Card Investor himself actually buy one for like $1 million? Wasn't that a thing, or $500,000?
I don't know what the price is, but I know he paid a lot.
People like kind of
one,
investigated and figured out which one he bought, and it was $500,000 at least.
Yeah.
That's the guy that people are taking advice from,
right?
Well, their data only goes back to like November or so. So
it probably goes back to the day after he sold that.
So I have
he bought that.
Yeah, but weren't there sales for like $500,000 to $700,000 for that card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean now it's like $252,000, like just crazy how much has gone down. And then one other interesting thing I saw, which I thought was kind of cool, based on this, people who had invested in like Nolan Ryan card, like a Nolan Ryan card from 1972, a PSA 8, that card has actually gone up like $200.
Oh wow!
In that amount of time. So.
And that's the whole thing, right? It's correcting both ways. At some point we're going to realize that Michael Jordan's cards shouldn't be here. They should be here. And maybe Nolan Ryan's cards shouldn't be here. They should be here. We're getting some kind of just correction overall. And it makes sense. The Jordan thing that made that unsustainable was the hype of The Last Dance, right? I mean, that's why the cards started selling. And again, I'm very proud of myself doing research. Something very similar with Marvel cards is happening. Marvel PMGs are the hottest thing. If you don't know about Precious Metal Gems, they're cards that I really appreciate because that set was something that came out in the 90s, not with Marvel, but I think it started with basketball and football. And those PMGs started getting put into Marvel products. 2013 was the first year. And I looked it up. So 3 months ago, a blue, which are numbered to 50, Doctor Strange, Precious Metal Gems from 2013, went on Golden Auction for $52,800.
Wow.
Yesterday, a 2013 PMG, same grade, same slab, BGS 8.5. The greens are out of 10, and this is what they call the alpha, right? It's 1 of 10. $15,600. So the one that is actually 40 cards less, the alpha, and in the same slab and grade, actually went for about $30,000 less, over $30,000 less than the blue did 3 months ago. And it's very similar situation to The Last Dance. What was happening 3 months ago? We were starting to get trailers for the Doctor Strange. We're starting to get full trailers where we're starting to see Multiverse of Madness stuff, which we should do a pod for that movie after this one.
Yes.
But
I have an index card of notes about it. So
spoiler alerts ahead. But you get these hype points that certain cards hit, and then they crash like that. Like the movie only came out a couple of weeks ago, and the card that's actually should be way more valuable is going for way less. And it's mind blowing.
And we've been doing this a long time. I've been doing it a long time. I had a card shop. I opened in 1991. I closed in 2004. I've lived through a number of peaks and a number of valleys in that time. And if I could give anybody listening or watching this any bit of advice, is when something starts to go crazy value wise, after a certain amount of time, it's not worth buying anymore, because the only place it has to go is down. And if you're not one of the people who got in early or were ahead of the game, if you're buying something, okay, that used to be worth $100, it's now worth 5,000, thinking that, oh, well, this is going to go to 10, you're going to be wrong more often than right. Like, that's how it works. It has always worked that way. Yeah, maybe in the mid 90s we didn't have $20,000 cards, but the same market getting hot and the market dying off thing, like, you can't sustain it. Like, there's only a certain level of interest that pushes stuff up really quickly, and then it dies off. And when it dies off, it goes back down. Now, that's not saying that $100 card might not be worth $300, but it isn't 5,000 anymore. So if something is super hot, if you didn't get on that train early, just let it go to the next station and find something else.
And you can use analogies of other things, right? Fantasy football. You didn't get Davante Adams as a rookie. Guess what? You're not getting Davante Adams.
Yeah.
Like, you need to just realize you didn't take the chance. You didn't get the guy. You didn't get the card, whatever. You just have to let that train go out of the station, because at that point, the value is not there to, in my analogy, trade for Davante Adams. It's too costly. In the card situation, it's just too expensive to go out and chase some of these cards that you wish you would have gotten, thinking, oh, well, if I buy it here, it's going to go up to here. And a lot of people too are afraid to get, I think I told you guys this expression before, upstuck, right? It's a poker term that Phil Locke coined, where, you buy into a poker table at $100, and an hour later you have $500 in front of you, and instead of cashing out, you keep playing, and then a few hands later you're down to $300. Well, you're still up, but you're stuck from the high you were at. And I think that's a problem that some card collectors and investors get to. They're too stubborn to say, I can't take a loss, man. I in my mind, this card is a $500 card. I can't be selling it for $300, even though I still make a profit. And then they just watch it tumble down to the point where it's worth the $100 that they paid for it.
And at the same time, they missed that opportunity to have sold that for $300 and buy that other card at $300 that in a month from now was worth $800. So there are a lot of people that don't seem to really get the opportunity cost. Like, had a lot of arguments with people about that, about PSA, like people, waiting a year to get their cards or waiting to send them into PSA. And it's like, when you have other grading companies out there that were options, if you're in this to make money, you can send them in, get them back, make less money than you would on PSA, but reinvest that, and your total profit at the end of it can be way higher than waiting a year or waiting 2 years for PSA to be worth like 30% more on a card. But EP, you mentioned vintage, and that'll take us into the next part of this, because we're going to talk a little bit on what cards you think will be least affected by the market dip. And I think vintage personally is the obvious answer. I think people are already seeing that you're investing money into these older cards. There are only so many of them out there, and guys who already did what they did that you don't have to worry about. And they're not, $20,000-$30,000 cards for the most part. And vintage just keeps slowly rising. You're not going to double your money overnight, but 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, you're going to have a nice little return on your investment. So, I think I just stole your answer, EP, but why don't you talk a little, since I know that is your answer, why don't you talk a little bit more about that in vintage?
Well, I think what kind of mentioned it a little bit in like the last segment, like the Jordans, how many of those Jordans, the Jordan rookie cards from '86, were at PSA among that group of cards that were getting graded, and they're just
Exactly.
getting flushed into the market.
Mhm.
Like something like a 1952 Topps Mantle, like on all the circumstances around that card, like there might be one or two of them in that entire all those cards, like those real like vintage cards. It's a finite amount, and it's quite a bit less than even some of the stuff from like the early 80s and stuff. Like if you get stuff from the 50s and 60s, I think that's just because it's rare, and to find it in really, really good condition is even super rare. So I think that's why that stuff holds, because it is just so difficult to find.
Yeah, and
Mike,
people aren't digging through their boxes and finding, I'm going to go through and dig out my
Right.
52 manholes.
Yeah.
because they're
Oh,
already
there's a
dug
55.
out.
There's a 55 Jackie Robinson I didn't even
Yeah.
know I had.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me
no,
just
no,
throw this
no.
to PSA right now.
Right.
Go ahead, Joe.
Mike, the moment we've all been waiting for, a disagreement. So I actually
Okay.
disagree with EP about the Jordan thing. Whoever has Jordans, they've been graded. No one's holding out for no one sent those
The rookie
Jordans to be
card.
graded. Right. No one
Yeah,
sent the Jordan rookie card to be graded at, the $25 level. If you found a Jordan rookie card, you're grading that at the walkthrough. I think that's what you were talking about. Or were you just talking about general Jordans?
I was talking about Jordan rookie cards.
Jordan rookie cards. Yeah. People are sending those at the walkthrough level, no matter what they look like. I don't think any of them have been waiting at PSA to get back over a year. I mean, I have Brady cards that aren't worth anywhere near what Jordan cards are worth, and I sent them some of them actually Super Express. So terrible choice, but but yeah, but I agree with the vintage point for sure. I mean, vintage cards were worth something cool and collectible when you owned the shop, Mike, right? They were something that you weren't flipping through and finding in the dollar tray or anything like that. So I mean, those cards are going to hold value. I also think, you look at players, just goats, so Brady, his cards will be fine. I mean, they might not continue to go up. They're going to reach a plateau. He's got several points where they can go up again, but then they have several points where they can go down. Look at Drew Brees. People thought, maybe when he retires, his cards will, kind of plateau. They plummeted.
Yeah, I know. Surprisingly.
Yeah. Peyton Manning, one of the most popular athletes, I think, ever. Just in terms of likability, not just what he did on the field, and he won a couple of Super Bowls. He does the Manning cast, and he does the TV show on ESPN Plus. His cards, you can find his cards really, really cheap, especially even rookie cards. So, I guess that's a way of me saying I don't know if anything's safe. I think the safest is probably the vintage, because they're always going to be a market for. I never watched Mantle play, but I take a Mickey Mantle rookie card, Right. So I think there's always going to be that market. And I think when you say vintage, I think it includes the Jordan and back. Yes, Jordan, we just talked about it, steep decline. I think we all agree that was a market correction. So now if you feel the market has corrected on Jordan, maybe now is the time to buy. I don't think it's a dip. I think it's I can add that card to my collection now at a reasonable price and be okay with it just holding its value over the course of its lifetime.
Okay, I'm going to go on a little rant here and just
got
keep
my
it
beer
in
ready
line here. But, people are so into the ultra modern stuff. They're into there are only 5 of this card though, and that Michael Jordan, there are thousands of copies and stuff. And my rant is going to focus on the point that all of the parallels, I've been saying this to you guys for a long time, with all the parallels, all the different sets, like, yeah, there might be 5 of that Ja Morant rookie card, right? But all of the demand for the Michael Jordan is focused on one card.
Right.
The Ja Morant, okay, well, maybe the 5 is this price, so I'll buy the 10, or I'll buy the numbered out of 20 or 25 or out of 50, or the other hundreds of parallels they have in every set. And then they have how many sets? So like if you want a John Morant rookie card, you probably I might be underestimating if I say there are 1,000 different rookie cards that you could buy of his, and the demand, like maybe, yeah, Prism is popular, right? We all know that. 20 years from now, you don't know that Prism is going to be the most popular set. I know that's hard for people to believe that are in the moment, but we've seen it. There are a lot of sets that used to be the hot thing that became not the hot thing, and you don't know what's going to happen. And when you have 1,000 different rookie cards that 20 years from now, somebody who wants a John Morant rookie can choose from whatever one they want, they might go, well, this was cheaper, I'll buy that. Where Michael Jordan, all those people are still looking at one card. And that's the difference. Yes, there are more of that one card, but all the demand is pointed toward the one card. It's not divvied up over all the different sets, all the different parallels. And it's something that a lot of ultra modern collectors, I just don't think consider. Like nothing will ever change in their mind, but we all know that it will.
Right. And what's funny about that is, you've got vintage stuff where you always had just one rookie. There was always one rookie that came out, even up until, Joe Montana has one rookie card, possibly the second greatest quarterback of all time, has one rookie card. It's not really, it's valuable, sure, but it's gettable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you go to the next era was when, in the early 90s, then Fleer came out with rookies, then Topps had rookies, Upper Deck came out. So it just started to boom. Even Tom Brady, who people think, oh, he doesn't have a lot of rookies because he was a 6th round pick. There's like 50 Tom rookie cards you can choose from for his rookie year. So you're completely right, Mike. And it's the parallels, it's a bunch of different sets. I watched a box of National Treasures get opened up, and there were 3 cards in a row, same player, same card, different number. It's just one was out of 10, one was out of 25, one was out of 50. Same box, 3 cards in a row, and mind blowing. And at that point, I'm like, I'm never buying Ultra Modern again. I'm never buying Ultra Modern.
Do you guys think sealed boxes and cases and packs of cards will continue to hold value? Is that something that is not affected as much by the market?
I think that it should. It always has, and I don't really think it'll be because just the law of diminishing supply. The more that is open, the less that is unopened, and regardless of how I might feel about ultra modern stuff, like there is some valuable stuff to be pulled out of it. So, like if you look back at a box of like Joe 2000 SP football. The Tom Brady, you're not going to get a Tom Brady out of it,
right?
But because you could, it still has quite a bit of value to it.
The unknown makes it so valuable.
And I feel like, everything that you can get out of the newer stuff will pretty much keep the value of that. I don't know how it's going to compare like in 20 years compared to stuff that's 20 years old now, but I still think that anything sealed should retain value and appreciate over time.
Yeah, I again, it comes down to the unknown aspect. People are very excited to think that box could have that in it, and at that point, people will still and people like to display boxes of cards. That's, I guess, a thing that I couldn't do it. I have a box that's been sitting here for a couple of months, as I just haven't had time to open it, of DC cards. So I'm like, maybe I'll open that tonight. But yeah, that stuff is going to hold value for sure. It may not peak, it may not go up anymore, but it'll definitely hold its value.
Yeah. What do you think, EP?
No, I think, that again, everything you guys have said, like the unknown, and people like to have boxes either to open when they want to, or just to have them to display. I agree 100%. Like I have, a couple boxes myself that want to open, but I have resisted so far. So, yeah.
Yeah, you have more, I think, than Joe and I do combined. So, well, Joe doesn't have much of anything, but I have a little bit, but I know you have more than we do. Yeah, and like honestly too, like if you go back to the 2000 football with Brady as the example again, like there's nothing that's really worth what it sells for if you're going to open it. So
Yeah.
it's really more just the
Yeah.
rarity of having that still sealed than what you could potentially get out of it.
Yeah, I was looking at a box of Pacific Aurora because those are the Brady's I found when I was digging through my
Mhm.
stuff in my grandparents' house, and I like that set. It's a fun set. It's very plain, especially for Pacific, and you probably get two Brady's out of it. Those Brady's for what the boxes go for have to be PSA nines at worst, and PSA isn't giving
Mhm.
out tens for Brady's anymore. So,
You know.
like they have to be nines, and you have to get two of them plus the grading fee for it even be worth to buy the box. So
Yeah.
the odds of you breaking even on a box. Look at Bowman. Look at a base Bowman, paper
Mhm.
Bowman. I mean, you need to get a Brady 9, and that quality control was not great in Bowman in 2000. So you'll pull a Brady almost guaranteed, but chances are it'll be a 7, and you just probably wasted about $3,000.
And they're only like, is there even anybody? There's nobody even close to Brady, but are there any other desirable rookies in that year? Was it Urlacher that year?
Urlacher, yeah,
Urlacher is
but
the next
Yeah.
his
most
stuff
valuable.
really isn't worth that much.
Yeah.
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 I think I
I have
sold an
a
upper deck rookie of his for $10, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I just got a Bowman Chrome back in the CSG order that I had, but like, for a guy who played as long as he did and, Hall of
Right.
Famer, like
Yep.
he's really not worth what you would
Yeah.
think he'd be worth.
Mm.
That's pretty much Brady just kind of dominates everything. Like you talked about Drew Brees and Peyton Manning. I think part of the reason they're not worth that much is because they're not Tom Brady. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
nobody else is Tom Brady, but that's really collectors. He's still playing, and everybody like the Mannings and the Brees that were great are kind of forgotten because
Mhm.
Brady's still around. So,
Yeah.
last question here: are the changes in the market going to change the way you collect or change anything for you? And where do you think the market goes from here? Joe?
Before we get to that question, I did want to make one point because
Sure.
we did talk about, some of the influencers who are talking about, the hobby. Some of them are saying, the sky's falling, sky's falling. Others are saying everything's great. This is perfect opportunity. You can really make some money now. The ones that I find the most annoying are the ones you'll see with their Instagram post or their tweets or their YouTube videos where they take their phone or their camera if they're a real fancy content creator, and they'll hold it over the crowd at a card show and go, "Oh, the hobby's dead. I think not." Or they butcher that Mark
Hmm.
Twain quote about my death has been greatly exaggerated or something like that, and they make a real grandiose point about how the hobby's not dead. What the folks need to, and this is kind of where I was coming from at the beginning. What folks need to realize is the interest in the hobby is not dying. I think the interest in the hobby is at an all-time high.
Hmm.
The problem is the people walking through those card shows that they're getting their video taken of, they might not have as much in their pockets for a myriad of reasons that we could talk about on a whole political podcast, but they don't have the money in their pockets that they did a year ago, a year and a half ago. So while their interest is super high, and I don't think that's going to come down, I think the real crash in the hobby is just the money that people have available to spend on cards. It's not a wane in interest, it's a wane in funds. And I think a lot of people don't, they want to have these glib fun, oh, you think the hobby's dying, look how many people are at this card show. That they're missing the point completely, and that
Yeah.
can be frustrating. For me personally, I might look into a PMG at this point. They have crashed quite a bit. I can only really look at the red ones, which are out of 100. I mentioned a couple of pods ago that if I dream cards, if I could pick up a non-sport card that I don't have, Doctor Strange red PMG might be on my horizon. But like I mentioned before, Brady stuff really isn't dipping, so I can't
No.
buy that dip anyway. So for me, it's not personally going to affect me, and I don't really sell the ultra modern stuff where you're gonna have those price. I think the prices are going to hurt those more. We talk about the big dollar prices with like the Jordan, but I think
Mhm.
the ultra modern stuff in general is going to see the value decrease year after year after year. That I'm not really into that stuff. Hopefully, maybe for Kenny Pickett cards, but other than that, I'm couldn't care less.
EP?
Yeah, my collecting, I collect more of like the set building products. I do collect some ultra modern and in modern stuff. So, but for me, it's mostly the like I said, set building products, and I'll like to get rookies of like the lower end rookies of some baseball players. I'm not looking for $10,000 cards. I've never watched a break of National Treasures. Like that's just nothing that really excites me in any way.
That'll keep you from
it's-
buying it if you watch a break.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
I'm sure. But yeah, it's I don't think it really will affect me. I mean, obviously, some of my cards that I had that I'm going to sell that they probably went down in price from where they were, but I'm not like losing any sleep over it for sure. I don't think this crash really affects me at all. I'll still be a collector. If I make it 50 years from now, I'm still going to be a collector. Then just how it is.
Yeah. And everybody knows I buy wrestling cards, one of my favorite things to do. And honestly, that market is not declining at all. It's still it's still going up. And like I've been paying pretty good money for cards that if you would have told me 6 months ago I was going to buy, a Paul Heyman card for the price I did, I'd be like, no, but I did. So, that market is still growing. So it's really like we talked about, there is only a segment of the market, I think, that's really feeling it. And that's the upper end stuff. And of course, anything that you're going to put a ton of money into, even a small dip can cost you a lot of money. And, I was telling you guys, I was watching a video from a pretty big content creator, and he mentioned a big content creator, and they recommended buying high end and low numbered cards, and I couldn't disagree more. Like, I think you have the most to lose to buy that like right now. Like, if the market is actually contracting, you're going to lose more money faster if you're buying that stuff. And I thought it was really funny too that he, in his wrap up of the video, said, collect what you love. It's like, well, are we supposed to buy this high end stuff, or are we supposed to collect what we love? Like, duh. People who collect cards collect what they love. Like, is this some, like, he was saying it like it was some kind of sage wisdom, and maybe it was for him, but like the rest of us, I don't know. I'm surrounded by you guys, my Twitter followers and stuff are pretty much true collectors, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about the market and investing and crashing and all that stuff. Like, people are there enjoying the cards that they like, and that's what it's supposed to be about. Collecting anything, if you're in the market just trying to make money off of cards and make as much as you can, you might be in a little bit of trouble right now. But like you were saying, Joe, I feel like the number of true collectors that are in the market now and enjoying collecting again, like people like us that were out of it for quite a while and now back in and actually having fun with it. And people like were the customers, the kids that used to come in my shop that got out of it and now are going back and digging through their cards and they're back into it. Like, that's what it should be about. And I feel like all of us are still having a good time and will continue for a while now. And we're not worried about losing $20,000 on a card because we don't buy that. So there's an easy solution. If you can't lose money, then don't buy cards like that.
Right. Exactly. I can't button it any better than that. I do agree with the guy who he probably collects sports cards and invest, right? He probably
maybe
does sports
like that, yeah.
And collects and invest. Okay.
I
But
don't
anyway,
remember, but yeah.
I do agree with him in the last part. Collect what you love. The other stuff he was saying was crap. But the collect what you love, that's what we're all in it for. I completely agree, Mike.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this kind of thing is probably what's happening is it's going to drive out the people who refer to cards as though they are stocks. You know what I mean? Like the people, and like that's kind of something that's kind of always,
yeah.
I think that's kind of always kind of like rubbed us the wrong way when people talk about it like that. I mean, yes, if you're a collector, you want to know what's my card worth. That's part of the fun of collecting. But to treat it like a stock portfolio is just kind of a little bit gross, and I think it's going to push those people out. I was also wondering, like, do these dips and do these things follow along on like a some sort of pattern? Like, can we kind of see when this might turn around, or do we know how far into the quote unquote crash we are, or what? Do you guys have any idea about that? Do you see? I guess maybe do you see another explosion like we had in 2021 ever again? Like it feels like almost like a one-time thing.
Perfect storm.
Yeah, I agree. The combination of COVID and people being stuck at home and, like you said, The Last Dance, like that being out there, like all that kind of hit together and it created this demand, then got people excited about
Brady
something.
winning another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Brady winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, that
definitely.
all that kind of stuff just coalesced at the same time, and it got a lot of people really excited. It got us, to be fair, it got us excited too, but it did get us excited in the way of, oh man, going to build that pool in the backyard now. Like it wasn't like that for us. It was, oh, I want to go through my stuff, see if there's anything. And I think we've talked about this on a pod before. Like, I do sell cards. We all sell cards. But generally what we do with the money we sell cards with is we go out and buy more cards, or we buy cards that we like then we can keep,
Yep.
I just sold how much of 90s stuff that I'm never going to care about, on eBay the last couple of weeks. But guess what? I just took that and basically traded it for a box of X-Men Series 1 that I will rip for the channel and enjoy, because I will collect them and I will put a set together and put it in pages and put it in a binder and I'll look at it. I mean, that's what I do it for. I'm not doing it to try and make money and pay off my house or anything.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, like I promised, we solved all the problems of the industry today, and I'm really happy about that. But I think what it all comes down to,
the storm's passing through here too.
There it is. But I think what it comes down to today is, if you call your cards a collection, you're going to be just fine. If you call your cards a portfolio, maybe you have a little bit worried about. I don't know. But good chat, boys. We'll be back next week. Take care, guys.
All right, later.